ladies, gentlemen, children of the interwebs out there, Sebastion, Envi, strong style cinephile. Let's talk about Kraven the Hunter. Did a video on it last night. I saw it last night, Friday, but it was like super long, and like I didn't want to bore my tens of viewers with that, and we really didn't need to spend that much time on it. So let's geek about it. First scan, a few minutes. Cliff Notes version of it. Was it super terrible? No. Was it super good? Hell no, of course not. But I think it was irritating. That's what I came away with. I was genuinely irritated because I thought there was a couple genuinely good ideas or good paths that they could take with the film, with the story and the characters, at least the two, like Kraven and his brother. And of course they're not, because this is the end of the Spider-Man adjacent universe villain-centric thing that Sony's doing. Word came out about that like a few days ago. So I'm wondering if any of that had any impact on the box office. I doubt it did, because that was like something people were talking about, whether or not everybody knowing that Aquaman The Lost Kingdom was the end of the Snyderverse crap that was going on, and whether or not that would affect the box office. I don't think it did, because the movie was just ass cheeks like from start to finish. I mean, but here's the same thing where we know that Sony's not going to do any more of these movies. I remember there's supposed to be like a Sinister Six thing that they were possibly building towards. We know that when Sony had that hack and some of the stuff about their plans, movies were leaking with the Aunt May prequel and the Silver and Black with Silver Sable and Black Cat, which I still remain kind of interested in how that would have turned out. But anyway, on Kraven, it's super generic. It's the killer with the code type of thing. You can kind of see where he might become sort of like the big game hunter guy that he is from the comics. We get the very comic-centric closing shot when he gets his vest towards the end of the film. That's reminiscent of, comic book imagery. A couple comic book covers specifically. We see very comic booky chameleon look for about 10 seconds. I don't know if that was all the CG they could afford for it. Calypso, who was in the comics a sometimes lover, sometimes partner of Kraven, she works with him in the film. You see them developing kind of the beginnings of their relationship, working relationship. Who knows if they would take it romantically in the comic or in the sequels, which we'll never see. The Foreigner, who has a connection to Silver Sable, Merc for Hire, type of guy. He was in it. He was terrible. The Rhino was in it, and the Rhino was fucking terrible. We saw a brief image of it in the trailer, and then we've seen people post, screenshots online. It was terrible. There's no justifying that. What pissed me off about that is, like, and the guy was like super overacting. I'm like, who's the director? Why didn't they rein this guy in? Because he was chewing scenery like a motherfucker, like every single time. He was terrible. It's like Aaron Taylor Johnson, who did his stuff in this movie. He was good. He was good with the action scenes. I believed him as Kraven. Dude got off alcohol, I think, for like 2 years straight just to stay in shape for this film, and he was super jacked. But he was being serious about things. And then you have this dude playing the Rhino who like showed up like he was in a what was it? Superhero movie, I think, was like that movie years back that was like a spoof of superhero movies, literally called Superhero Movie. He showed up like thinking he was stepping on the set of that as opposed to this movie. Super terrible. My whole thing with him being the Rhino, he has like this colostomy backpack thing that he has to maintain connected to his body, or else this condition that he has, that he calls it, will overtake his body, turning him into the Rhino. It didn't need to be the Rhino. Like, it reminded me, what you could have done was you remember that episode of Young Justice where I believe it was they were the kids were supposed to be doing a stealth mission on Santa Prisca, and we had just seen Bane earlier in the episode. Some people were taking his venom, experimenting with it, and they turned this dude into this large monster, and we see him change, and he's big, his skin is tearing in spots from what he turns into and stuff. Like you could have done something like that. Just give it a generic bad guy. You didn't have to have it be the Rhino. I understand you want to have it be the Rhino to bring in the casual comic book, viewer, and it's like, oh, it's comic booky. Like, here's the Rhino. Like, I understand why you did it, but you didn't need to. the relationship between Dima and Sergey, like what they set up in the end, like it just, and the reason why, because it's like Sergey, he becomes Kraven, he gets his powers due to like a lion and magic, water and mysticism and stuff. Then he becomes this hunter vigilante. He's going after drug dealers and traffickers and this and that because he has a code. Then his code puts him up against people that are involved in high level business with his father. It's a whole thing, but it's really forgettable. It's super generic. Seen the stuff before, but the conflict that the brothers had in the fact that when Kraven gets his powers, he goes off to find himself and become Kraven the Hunter. He leaves his dad, or he leaves his brother with his dad, and his dad is a dick. He's we have pregnant Russell Crowe in here, and he's very much a toxic masculinity pushing guy. Every 2 seconds he's talking about, you gotta do this to be man, you gotta be man, don't be weak, blah, blah, blah. He leaves Dima with him to suffer the effects of that upbringing. That conflict, like, between the two brothers would have been fun to watch because it's like, here, you got to go off and do this, find yourself and become this strong dude. I'm here getting my ass kicked by this asshole, having to find my strength and my drive under his thumb. That type of, that would have been cool if they could have done that in this movie or done it in sequels, which we'll never see. That's the part that's irritating because it's like Aaron Taylor, Johnson, he was great. Like I said, he brought it as Kraven. The conflict that they set up, potential conflict, him and his brother, which we'll never see. So it was just, this movie just, as a whole, is just largely forgettable. But the stuff you do remember, like I said, the potential that was wasted in this is what was irritating. There's a point in it where they're kind of messing with Kraven. They take him down. They give him some toxin that jacks up his fears and stuff. And through that, I can kind of see how they could lean into actually having him go after Spider-Man. I can see how it like plays out. It's like he has that reason kind of from that, and it kind of messes with him related to like his mom and trauma he's experiencing from that, and dreams and stuff that he be having, nightmares. And then he gets offered, a contract to take on Spider-Man. He's like, cool. And it plays in more of the trauma, seeing this dude, like the giant spider dude. And then the people that want him, that hire him, are like, no, we're canceling the hit. He kills them. He's like, nah, fuck y'all. I want to take this dude out. I'll do it for free. There's, and it was born out of something that happens, imagery you see in this movie. So it was like, when I was like thinking, my wheels were turning, I'm like, okay, I can see that's how he goes after Spider-Man. But again, irritating, potential wasted. It's just, and when you get to the end of this, there's nothing coming after. It's like, what was the point? It's like, were you just purely just making it so it's like you don't lose the rights to the characters? Is it that type of thing? It just, it was just irritating in a waste of potential. That's what I came away with it. That's how I came away from this film. Like I said, is it super terrible? Actually not. Is it super good? Hell, is it middle of the road? Not even that. It's like, but if you come across this movie on FX or something like that, if you still have cable for whatever reason, or TNT or TBS, you catch it at the gym on the treadmill, and it's like on TNT, there's like Kraven the Hunter playing, and it's got subtitles. You might, like, as you're doing your 20 minutes on treadmill, might actually pay attention to it. Like, that's what it's good for, as far as like a great example of a comic book movie. No. And it just sucks because some people really brought some effort and tried to do some good things with what they were given, but it just didn't work. Some things just don't always work out. You know what I mean? But oh, did you see it? Because there were only like 11 other people in the screening with me. The previous night there was like 6 people. I don't know. Is anybody going to see it? I'm really curious as to the opening box office of this. But anyway, those are my thoughts on it, scattered as they often are. What do you guys out there think? Let me know in the comments below. Follow me on social media. Talk to me there. Talk to me here. Till next time. And always